Are you prepared for the future? 10 states are on the brink of societal collapse, and the consequences could be devastating. Societal collapse isn't always dramatic. It's often a slow unraveling, a cascade of interconnected crises. In this video, we'll reveal the warning signs in 10 US states and, more importantly, what we can do to build resilience and hope. Let's get started. California, a land of dreams, innovation, and breathtaking landscapes. It boasts the fifth largest economy in the world, a global tech hub that drives innovation and shapes the future, a place where fortunes are made and technological boundaries are constantly being pushed. And yet, beneath the shimmering surface lies a state on the edge, grappling with a multitude of interconnected crises. Unimaginable wealth, a concentration of affluence that rivals nations, sits starkly beside staggering poverty and homelessness, a visible manifestation of deep-seated inequalities, a crisis that demands urgent attention and compassionate solutions. This disparity erodes social trust, creating divisions within communities and fueling a sense of unease. Wildfires, once a seasonal threat, now threaten year-round, a constant reminder of the state's vulnerability to the forces of nature. These fires are fueled by climate change and exacerbated by poor land management practices, creating a dangerous cycle of destruction. The housing crisis forces millions into unstable living situations, with skyrocketing rents and limited availability pushing families to the brink. This, in turn, pushes essential workers far from their jobs, creating grueling commutes and impacting their quality of life. The resulting suburban sprawl fractures communities, leading to social isolation and a decline in civic engagement. Each crisis amplifies the next, a complex web of challenges that demand comprehensive solutions. Wildfires displace thousands, flooding an already broken housing market and creating a humanitarian crisis within the state. Meanwhile, billions spent on disaster response drain resources from essential services like education and infrastructure, further straining the system. Yet California is also a leader in innovation, a beacon of hope with the potential to address these challenges head-on. Community fire prevention initiatives are emerging, empowering residents to take proactive steps to protect their homes and neighborhoods. Mutual aid networks are providing critical support to those in need, demonstrating the power of collective action and neighborly compassion. And advocacy for affordable housing is taking root, demanding policy changes that prioritize the needs of all Californians. The path forward requires us to scale grassroots efforts, foster local resilience in the face of adversity, and demand systemic change that addresses the root causes of these interconnected crises. California's future depends on building equity and sustainability, creating a more just and resilient society before the next inevitable shock hits. The time to act is now. Texas, a land of vast landscapes and even vaster ambitions. It's an energy giant, a state fiercely independent in spirit and resources, a place where the oil industry has long reigned supreme. But beneath the surface of prosperity lies a unique vulnerability, a fragility exposed by recent events. Its isolated power grid, known as ERCOT, operates largely independently from the rest of the nation. This independence, while a source of pride, proved disastrous when Winter Storm Uri struck, bringing unprecedented cold and chaos. The grid failed catastrophically, unable to withstand the extreme conditions, leaving millions of Texans in the dark and cold, desperately seeking warmth and safety. Extreme weather events, from devastating freezes to scorching heat waves, are becoming more frequent and intense. These events push the grid to its absolute limits, threatening lives and livelihoods, and exposing the urgent need for infrastructure improvements. The state's explosive population growth places an ever-increasing strain on already overburdened infrastructure. Compounding these challenges, persistent drought and unchecked development are exacerbating the risks. They worsen the impact of flooding and contribute to critical water shortages, impacting communities across the state. While Texas boasts impressive economic booms, these successes often mask deep-seated poverty and stark inequality. These disparities leave many rural and urban communities behind, vulnerable and underserved in times of crisis. Disasters disproportionately hit the underserved the hardest, widening the gap and creating further hardship. This deepens cycles of disadvantage, making recovery even more challenging for those already struggling. To build a more resilient future, Texas must invest in a robust and interconnected grid, capable of withstanding extreme conditions. Prioritizing sustainable water management practices is also crucial for long-term stability, and comprehensive community emergency plans are essential to ensure everyone is prepared and protected. True resilience in Texas means neighbors helping neighbors, fostering a spirit of solidarity and mutual support. It also requires smart, forward-thinking planning at all levels of government, ensuring a more sustainable and equitable future for all Texans. Florida: sunshine, beaches, a vibrant culture, and a thriving tourism industry. It's a place many dream of calling home, a paradise of sun-kissed shores and swaying palm trees. But beneath the surface of this idyllic image lies a growing threat, a shadow that looms larger with each passing year. Florida is also on the front lines, a front-row seat to the stark realities of climate change. The very features that make it so desirable are now threatened by a force of nature we can no longer ignore. Rising sea levels, driven by melting glaciers and thermal expansion, and the increasingly frequent sunny day flooding, where streets become rivers even without a drop of rain, are already damaging property, eroding coastlines, and crippling vital infrastructure. Roads buckle, bridges weaken, and the very foundations of the state are being undermined. Hurricanes fueled by warmer ocean temperatures are now more intense, packing a greater punch, devastating communities, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. These storms cripple economies, disrupting businesses and livelihoods, while recovery grows harder and more expensive each time a storm hits. The cycle of damage and repair becomes increasingly unsustainable. The insurance market is collapsing under the weight of these escalating risks, making homeownership increasingly risky and unaffordable, and threatening the real estate backbone of Florida's economy as property values in vulnerable areas plummet. Retirees, many of whom have invested their life savings in Florida properties, and low-wage workers, who often live in the most vulnerable areas, are especially vulnerable, with the poor often unable to evacuate or rebuild, facing displacement and economic hardship. Solutions require massive infrastructure upgrades, from seawalls and drainage systems to elevated roads, and crucially, strong community support networks, fostering resilience and mutual aid. Neighbors and local organizations are often the first responders, the unsung heroes who step up when disaster strikes. Mutual aid is Florida's best defense, a testament to the power of human connection in the face of adversity. The challenge: adapt, prepare, mitigate, and support each other, standing shoulder to shoulder as the tides rise, threatening to engulf the paradise we know and love. Louisiana: rich culture but a state literally disappearing. Coastal erosion erases land at a shocking rate, removing natural hurricane buffers and threatening entire communities. Hurricane Katrina exposed failures in infrastructure and government, scars that remain today. Deep poverty and decaying infrastructure leave many without resources to evacuate or rebuild. Crumbling roads, bridges, and water systems make daily life fragile and recovery harder. The solution: massive investment in coastal restoration and infrastructure, plus support for education, healthcare, and new economic opportunities. Rebuilding land and hope must go hand in hand. Louisiana's resilience depends on both. Arizona: cities blooming in the desert, but water is running out. The Colorado River crisis is forcing painful cuts, threatening agriculture and urban growth. Extreme heat is deadly, straining power grids and public health, especially for the vulnerable. Rapid population growth and immigration tensions stretch resources and social cohesion. Arizona must pioneer aggressive water conservation, invest in recycling, and redesign cities to combat heat. Community plans for heat and water emergencies are essential. The future depends on learning to live with the desert, not against it. Survival here means innovation and adaptation. Mississippi: deep poverty, poor health, and underfunded schools create a cycle of fragility. Economic stagnation drives young people away, while rural hospital closures turn treatable conditions into crises. Education struggles perpetuate poverty, leaving communities vulnerable to shocks. Yet, grassroots organizing and community resilience offer hope. Investing in local health, education, and entrepreneurship is key. Mississippi's future lies in empowering its own communities. Alabama: rural poverty, environmental hazards, and limited resources define its fragility. Tornadoes and pollution threaten vulnerable communities lacking the means to recover. The digital divide and lack of basic services isolate rural areas, deepening despair. Local support systems, churches, nonprofits, community leaders, are stepping up. Solutions: build local food systems, broadband, and disaster plans tailored to each community. Alabama's strength is in its people's ingenuity and determination. Nevada: built on tourism and risk, but that foundation is shaky. The pandemic exposed economic vulnerability, while drought threatens water supplies for Las Vegas and beyond. Boom and bust cycles create housing instability and a transient population. Rural areas face limited access to healthcare and opportunity, deepening urban-rural divides. Nevada's future depends on diversifying its economy, innovating in water management, and bridging divides. Betting on resilience means investing in all Nevadans, not just the Strip. The stakes couldn't be higher. New Mexico. Stunning landscapes but persistent poverty and water scarcity trap many residents. The shrinking Rio Grande threatens agriculture and centuries-old traditions. Rural isolation makes access to healthcare and opportunity difficult, deepening fragility. High rates of substance abuse and struggling schools perpetuate a cycle of hopelessness. The Acequia system's spirit of collaboration is a model for community-driven solutions. Empowering local agriculture, resource sharing, and sustainable development is the way forward. New Mexico's resilience is rooted in tradition and mutual support. West Virginia, once powered by coal, now facing economic decline and population loss. The opioid crisis has devastated families and communities, overwhelming social services. Infrastructure challenges and environmental damage from mining add to the fragility. Population loss erodes the tax base, making recovery harder. Yet, grassroots groups are leading recovery, fighting addiction, building new economies, and restoring hope. The future depends on investing in these efforts and moving beyond extraction. West Virginia's story isn't over, it's being rewritten from the ground up. We've seen 10 states on the brink, but the point isn't fear, it's action. Resilience starts locally, knowing your neighbors, building mutual aid, and strengthening community ties. The challenges are immense, but so is our capacity for innovation and compassion. The future is unwritten. We can choose to build a more resilient, equitable world. Join the conversation, subscribe, and help shape a better tomorrow.